We'll open this meeting of the Sheffield Selectboard. Thank CTSB for their excellent coverage of our meetings. And we'll start off with approval of meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes from January 25th, 2 sets, February 1st, and February 7th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, second, we have updates from the library director.
Hi, Dina.
I'm Dina Hansen, and the library director across the street at the Sheffield Library. So I want to thank Rhonda and Jill and the Selectboard for allowing me the time tonight to give an update over what the library has accomplished over this past year. I'm very excited to share all of this with you. I recently signed my second contract to serve as library director. I'm very proud to hold this position, very happy to serve. I love to share this information with all of you. We, as a library staff, take full pride in serving the town of Sheffield and our surrounding community. We are open 6 days a week for public service. That includes 2 nights, both weekend days. We really try to make ourselves, as our statement says, we inform, educate, and culturally enrich all of the residents of Sheffield, from our tiniest residents to our favorite senior citizens. When we look at our circulation numbers, so in 2023, Bushel Sage Library circulated 40,227 items. This is more than 5,000 items over our pre-pandemic numbers. Many of the other libraries in CWR, so that's the Central and Western Massachusetts Resource Sharing, that is the consortium that we're a part of. It has over 100 member libraries. Many of those libraries haven't returned to those pre-pandemic numbers, so we were very excited to be circulating so many. We actually had to reach out to the state to ask them to add an extra delivery day for us because we needed to kind of spread out our workflow more. So we have 5 days of delivery service from the state. We also circulated 7,719 digital items. So those are your ebooks, your audiobooks, digital magazines. That was a 17% increase over last year. And as you can see in the graphs, those numbers, especially in digital circulation, have just been increasing year to year. This past year, we welcomed 27,057 visitors. That was a 28% increase from last year, and we signed up 154 new cardholders. We hosted 554 events with a total of 5,351 attendees. That's an 80% increase in our program attendance. So that includes 98 all-ages programs that had 1,830 attendees, 136 youth programs with 1,268 attendees, and 316 adult programs with 2,230 attendees. Especially in youth programs, I've really been pleased to see the way that having a full-time children's program coordinator has allowed us to really expand not only the materials that we offer, but the programs and services that we're able to provide. And I know that our town's families are really happy with their library, and that makes me happy. Partnerships over this past year included South Berkshire Kids, Sheffield Saves, the Sheffield Tree Project, Sheffield Land Trust, Cadmus Life Sharing, Canine Lane Therapy Dogs, the Berkshire County One Book, One Community Read, Beekeepers Theater, Berkshire Quilters Guild, and Sheffield Historical Society. Like I mentioned, having a full-time children's program coordinator also allowed us to look at our summer reading and revamp how we ran the program. So as opposed to recording minutes or books read as other libraries did, Stephanie D'Angelo, our children's program coordinator, created activity sheets that worked like a bingo sheet to really encourage our youngest readers, including our our pre-readers, so kids who aren't reading independently, to kind of engage with each other, read broadly across categories, engage in podcasts, and really try to read together as families to develop these skills. And we heard from a lot of families that they appreciated kind of this fresh approach, that they were reading things with their families that they never thought that they would read, and they really had a wonderful time. So we had 63 readers sign up this year. That was an 80% increase over our numbers from last year. And in this year's program, it was called Find Your Voice. So a lot of our programs and activities try to help our kids connect with our communities, learn how to give back. And so in completing those activity sheets, they earned money that they could donate to local organizations, and that was funded by our friends. Those kids raised over $230 for local nonprofits. They had such an amazing time picking what charity they wanted to donate to. We had other raffle prizes that were donations or things that we could offer in building. And then our end of summer event, we are so thankful to the Friends of the Library. They sponsored Nile and the Whale Mobile. So if you can see this small picture, an inflatable, life-size humpback whale fit into our program room. Kids could go inside the whale, and then they would get a lecture from Cindy, who was the whale's driver, about the life cycle of a humpback whale, the baleen, the noises, and it also partnered with our end of summer party where we made origami whales, we had snacks, we danced, we sang, and it was just a great summation of everything that we had done over the summer. One of our other big highlights was that we were the recipient of a very generous gift from the Butler Sculpture Park. So our library grounds now feature 2 outdoor sculptures by Robert Butler. So the playful red legs in front of our building, and then on our back lawn in free. So we're very grateful to Susan Butler, Tomich Landscape Design, Wilkinson Excavating, our library trustees, the Friends of the Library, and the Sheffield Highway Department. They all work together to get those statues on site. We know that it just enhances the look of our building. It flows with the public art that we love to provide through our art wall, our youth art wall, and now the wonderful public art we have on our grounds. And then really the highlight of last year was hosting the Crossroads exhibit. So we were one of 6 locations chosen in the state to serve as a host site for the nationally touring Crossroads Change in Rural America exhibit. That came with a $10,000 grant. We hosted, I think the grant required that we host 6 programs and 1 local exhibit. Our programming committee, again, went above and beyond. We ran 11 events and 3 local exhibits all across town. So we were at Dewey Hall, Old Parish Church, the Old Stone Store, Dan Raymond House, Trinity United Methodist in Ashley Falls. Those events drew over 500 attendees. So again, thank you to our many community partners for the Crossroads Grant, which included the Sheffield Historical Society, the Sheffield Land Trust, Housatonic Heritage, South Berkshire Regional School, Fairview Hospital, the First Congregational Church of Sheffield, Dewey Hall, the Rural Berkshire's Always Adaptive Art Show Committee that was chaired by Patty Owen, and the Friends of the Bushnell Sage Library. So we were so excited to host this exhibit to encourage more than nearly 4,000 visitors came through our buildings to see this exhibit. We know that it deepened a lot of partnerships across organizations, but also partnerships among neighbors, among our volunteers and our friends. So we were so proud to have hosted this exhibit and run all of these programs, and we're even more excited that we've received a second-year $10,000 grant to continue these programs, deepen these partnerships. So again, we are just very pleased as your library to be able to serve the town of Sheffield in the ways that we do, and I thank you again for your time. If anyone has any questions, they can always please feel free to contact me. I'm usually there when the library is open. Please stop by my office, come in and see me, give me a call. Pat Levine is the chair of my trustees. She might hate to hear me say this. We don't really care if you read books. We're not going to buy you and ask you to give us book reports. We just want you to come inside and come into our library, because you know once you come into the library, it's your space. Your tax dollars fund us, and you will find something within our doors that will enhance your life, whether it be a book, a magazine, an audiobook, something from our library of things. We are here as a resource to help you all and to help the town of Sheffield. So thank you again for giving me the time to present to you all tonight.
Thank you.
I would be very interested in Dina. I mean, this is a very impressive report. Why are things, two questions. One, how do you count visitors? And two, why has there been such an explosion in the growth of both circulation and digital and just across the board? Why so much?
So for our
People need to know your answer. No, I appreciate that.
Sure. So we have a tracker that tracks everyone who comes in and out of our building that we keep records of yearly. This not only helps us inform for reports that we deliver back to the town, but that we deliver annual reports back to the state. The amount of hours that we're open, the amount of money that we spend in our program, in our budget towards our materials, our books, our subscriptions, factor into a budget line from the state called state aid. So that is money that we get from the state every year for serving our community at an appropriate amount of hours and devoting that budget. I think a lot of, well, digital circulation, I think, can really be chalked up to the way that reading changed during the pandemic. And I think that once people got to know about digital services, if you have the Libby app, if you now have the Hoopla app on your phone, it's so easy to download that to your phone or your tablet. You save your library card in there, and then it's just a wealth of free information. So I do encourage all of you, please don't buy from Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, before you go to Audible, check the Libby app, check Hoopla. This is where your tax dollars are going, and you can really get a lot of great free information. I will also know that over the past few years, we've really worked as a library. There's a process called weeding, and weeding is about removing books from the collection. So we look at books that are damaged, gross looking, the material is really out of date, it hasn't circulated in a long time. So we remove those books. We either work with the Mason Library to donate them to book sales, or we work with various recycling agencies to kind of clear those old books out of the system. And so we always have great new materials coming in every day. And so I think as people come in and they're seeing books that are relevant to things that they're curious about in their life, from modern topics to just a wide range of fiction for adults, for all ages. I think a freshening of the collection. And one of my favorite compliments that I get around town is people love to tell me how great our staff is. And I will agree. I think our staff at the library is a really kind, helpful group of people. People know that they'll come in the front door, they get warmly greeted, and then whatever their question, we will try to help you figure it out. Sometimes the answer is, oh, I'm sorry, we don't know, or we have to redirect you, but we'll help you. We'll help you print out that return label for Amazon. We'll help you print out your flight pass. We'll help you make copies of things. We'll try to get you whatever information you need, and that's just what we see our role as over at the Bushnell Sage Library. But thank you for your question.
Any other questions?
No.
Well, thank you, Dina. You've done a great job by the looks of it, and everybody talks highly of the library, so thank you. Okay, discussion, possible action regarding treating invasive plants at Town Park. So, would Sarah like to speak?
I wasn't here for that, but I think I thought I can answer questions if you have them. Do you want me to?
Well, you could give a
overview.
She wasn't prepared to speak, Bob.
That's okay. I like to put her on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay, I can. So I had brought to the
attention of the Selectboard, Roger, that we have received in the past a grant from DCI's grant, Conservation and Recreation, to do this type of work. And I was inquiring if you would be interested in thinking about doing something like that again. I think what I asked you, Rhonda, was I haven't looked at the work. The maximum amount that you can ask for from to work with is $20,000, and then the DCR would pay 75% of it, and the town would pay the 25% of it, which would be what, $6,750, I think is what it was. I don't know that there's that much work there. I actually don't even know if there's that much money left in their coffers right now. But what I was looking for was some direction on what you would be willing to put in, and then I can, if you want to do 10,000, it would be 2,500 to the town, 7,500 to the DCR. And if they don't have the money for this year, we can roll it into the following year, because I think the end of their fiscal year was June 31st.
Thank you for that information.
So I'm interested in trying to keep invasives out of the town park, particularly the areas that are used by the public. I don't know if the other town properties have been inspected. I wouldn't think there'd be much at the police station, if anything. And I think the senior center kind of keeps itself very cared for in that regard. I don't know, given the expanse of the library, and given that a lot of people seem to be over there, I don't know if we have anything that's starting around the edges or such. So I think it would not be a bad idea, if we're going to look at doing this, that we also just see what's going on at the library and include that. So I would make a motion, and I'm not quite sure how to do this because we don't know what the scope of work, the extent of the work is. So up to?
Well, what if you had Sari go over and take a look at both locations that you've talked about, the town park and the library, and come back with her recommendation on what she thinks the work is, and how much you think that might be?
When is the grant due? When is the
It's a rolling application.
That's rolling.
Yeah. I can do that, or you can put a cap on it for each year. Either way.
I would just hate to say $10,000 if there's $15,000 that we can do.
Yeah.
So could you do that for us?
Yes.
And then next meeting we can wrap this up?
Sure, absolutely. I don't know about next meeting, but I can do it for you.
Yeah. But if you just send Rhonda an estimate of what it is, we don't need to have you here to.
And it doesn't have to be exact, if I could just
Okay.
Thanks, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to discussion and action regarding a one-day alcohol permit.
I would make a motion. Do we have everything on this, Rhonda?
Yes.
So I make a motion that we approve the application for a one-day beer and wine permit at Joey Hall on March 8th, 24.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Discussion and possible action policy written electronic verbal communication with a commission, committee, council, trustee, or board member.
So we're going to talk about this at the last meeting, and I brought it forward because there is mail from resident that's being sent to board, committee, council, whatever members at their home addresses, and that is legal according to our legal counsel. but it's really board business that the volunteer or elected or appointed person is being asked to address, and I'm feeling that this should really be taken up at a board meeting rather than kind of outside of the meeting. Those documents become public documents, and the citizens have a right to know what's going on in board meetings and have that, if it's taken up, reflected in the board minutes. So our lawyer said, well, you can write a policy. So I put together a policy that really says that all of the communications, written, verbal, electronic, whatever, will be directed to the board. If it comes to an individual board member, they can also just give it to the board, or when in doubt, send it to town hall and it will get sorted accordingly. And that would be public records, which they are automatically, and taken up at a board meeting if the chair elects to add the topic to the agenda. That was a suggestion from Rhonda, and I think we can ask her, but to me it addresses that this may have already been taken up and it's a superfluous issue. The rest of it just means that the board members also are under no obligation to answer any communications and are encouraged not to, that come to them at their home address that deals specifically with a board item. If it's separate from the board issues, it's private mail. But when it deals with a board matter, it's really board mail. And if it's not under the jurisdiction of a particular board and it comes to a board member, then it's not under this policy. So, and it also doesn't apply to obviously generic conversations or a conversation that's generic and someone has with you in the supermarket, which happens all the time. So the one that I would like the board to consider, which it would apply across the board to all boards, committees, commissions, etc., library trustees, just everyone, is the one that has the yellow highlights with Rhonda's excellent addition.
Is that a motion?
I would make a motion to pass this as written.
And I'll second
Okay, any further discussion? No, I think it's well drafted and well meaning, so all those in favor? Aye.
And we'll get this out to every chair.
Discussion possible action bylaw amendment regarding setbacks.
So you voted at a prior meeting to send over this proposal for the change in the table of dimensional regulations regarding setbacks. The planning board had some conversation about it. I believe it'll also be on their next agenda. But their question was regarding the change of the 50 feet and the 35, and whether the board would be interested in changing the setbacks to 40 and 20 to be consistent with all of the other districts other than the village center. So on your change, you changed from 100 to 50 in the minimum front setbacks, and the minimum rear and side setbacks you had recommended 75 be changed to 35, and they're looking at a 2040 to replace those.
Yeah, I think the whole background on this, we took it up, I think, at maybe our last meeting, was that looking at some of the setbacks, particularly for the general business, which requires a minimum lot size of 4 acres. The front setback, as it is now, of 100 feet, and the rear and side at 75 feet really takes like a 4-acre lot and can shrink it down to 2.5 acres. And I think at some time this was the belief, as I said at the last meeting, that we would have light industrial, and manufacturing, and I think that is not necessarily what's happening in town. So I think the board's intent was to try and give back lots that are in the general business district, more actually of the lot, and not have so much of it taken back on setbacks when this is really out of sync with the other zones in town, where commercial is like a 40-foot minimum front setback and a 20, thank you, foot setback. So I would have no problems going with the planning board's recommendation.
Neither would I. I think that would keep it uniform, except for village center, which is slightly smaller. Then everything else would be the same, which I think would make it less confusing.
Well, I don't have any disagreement with it, but I think our thinking, initially, at least my thinking, was we were reducing the setback by 50% to give the property owner a little bit more space, but while still keeping some buffer from the neighbors, you know. But if planning thinks that 40 and 20 will pass by the voters, then I don't have a problem with that.
I think what we're finding over the years, because these are the original setbacks, and talking with some of those people who unfortunately have now passed on, who wrote this, you know, there were a lot of trade-offs, and there were very ambitious plans. This was 1994, I think, for what was going to happen in the general business. It was going to be light manufacturing. It was going to be a lot of stuff that, some of which did actually come to the business park, but most of which is now gone. You know, with custom extrusion gone, and now with Eurovision selling. So, there's just businesses trying to go into the general business district that don't meet, I think, the ambitions that people had in '94, and they're just having to give up so much of their property. That's my concern.
Do you need a motion? Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we accept the planning board's recommendation to reduce the
Second.
40 to 20.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Action regarding resignation from Historical Commission.
So I would make a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Dennis Sears from the Historical Commission, and to send him a letter thanking him for his many years of service.
I'll second that. And
Any
Dennis is
further
here tonight.
discussion? Yes, and I would like to thank him for it was much appreciated, and we reluctantly take a vote to accept your resignation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of firefighters. We have 2 probationary requests.
So I make a motion that we appoint the following individuals to 1-year probationary firefighter status. Daniel Baker and Kristen Kiefner.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I thank them both for joining our fire department. It's amazing how the fire department continues to recruit members when others struggle.
We have been very fortunate in Sheffield. We have a lot of community support for volunteers. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Board member items. Any?
Well, I had somebody I wanted to thank, but my 65-year-old brain is lost me that person. If you go first, then maybe I will come back.
Okay, I always find the alphabet helps. I have 2 things I want to mention. First of all, elections are coming up. Everybody probably saw the sign out on the village green. But the voting schedule is that Tuesday, the 26th of February is the deadline to request vote by mail ballots. The presidential primary will be on Tuesday, March 5th, and the last day to register to vote in the presidential primary or change your party affiliation is Saturday, February 24th. The town hall will be open. Now, early voting in person will also be this coming Saturday at February 24th from 9 to 5 p.m. and also Monday the 26th through Thursday the 29th from 9 to 4 p.m. And you will do that at the first floor meeting room, right outside the town clerk's office. You don't do this one at the senior center. Also, I just wanted to remind everyone that Phyllis and Nicole, thank you if you've sent back your census form. And if you haven't, please do so. Send it back or bring it in person and just give it to them. The other item that she asked me to announce was that we still have time if you're interested in taking out nomination papers for the following offices. Moderator, we need one for 1 year. Library trustee, we need one for a 3-year term. Select board member, we need one for a 3-year term. And planning board, we need 2 or more for 3-year terms. The deadline to obtain nomination papers for the annual town election is Friday, March 22nd, and the deadline to return those papers for certification is Monday, March 25th at 5 p.m. Now, I'm surprised, but there are still some people who are asking me if I'm running for select board, and as I said, no, quite some time ago when you were elected, I'm not. So the select board position that I now hold will be up, so we need to have people step forward. The other thing I wanted to just mention is that, and this is thank you to the library too, because we have received an award for a GRIT junior chair for our younger residents who may have mobility issues, and we're hoping to get that within the next couple of weeks, and that will be housed at the library. So we'll have a GRIT chair for adults, and we'll have a GRIT chair for our younger residents.
Thanks, I still can't remember who it was. So I'll try to write it down the next time it pops into my head and bring it the next time.
Well, you may have it after town administrator.
Yeah, I might,
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I have nothing, so Rhonda?
I did, thank you.
Well, that was short, so I think about it quick.
I mess so well.
So I would make a motion that we move into.
We're gonna do public comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Rushing.
Any public comments?
Lining up.
I just wanted to ditto what Dina was saying about digital library books. I used to pay Audible for a gold membership, and I no longer pay them anything, and I just get all my books, or maybe one a year, digitally, and it is so great. Really great. Oh, and the other thing is that with our Sheffield Library card, I believe this is true, we can access Boston Library, which is pretty cool.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Julie Hannum, 765 Home Road. Well, we're on the topic of library. Thank you, Dina and the library, for the great work that you do. My question tonight has to do with the policy on the written, electronic, and verbal communications. Is that something that will eventually get added to the board handbook? Is that the intention that that information would be included there? I think.
You know, it's interesting.
I don't know why it popped into
Sure
my head.
anybody was using the board handler.
Well, you do skip through it once in a while. It's handy.
Certain meetings are run, I mean, it takes a lot of time to update that, but this policy will go to every board chair.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that the board chairs will share it with their board members, but
Eventually, I'm not asking you to run out and update, but I'm just thinking it would be something to collect that when it is updated again, it would probably be a good insertion. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? See, now we can take a motion to.
Nadine, is it there yet?
No. It's gone.
Then I would like to make a motion that we move into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease or value of real property. That if we held this discussion in an open session, it may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town of Sheffield, and that we do not return to open meeting.
I'll second that.
A roll call vote.
Hopper, aye.
Kilmer, aye.
Renee, would I?
We are adjourned.